Well, welcome back to the CG Bros. In this video tutorial, we're going to take a look at some of the rigid body functionality of the Pulldownit plugin from both Max and Maya. The PDI plugin is very robust and very powerful and allows for pretty high-resolution, detailed dynamic simulation of objects. So let's go ahead and get started. Now I'm going to use the file that I used for one of the other video tutorials, path-based fracturing. That was video 4. For this video tutorial. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go ahead and select my curve. And let's go ahead and select our fracture interface. Let's go ahead and make sure that our curve is selected here, that we've got path-based selected. And I'm going to go ahead and reduce my number of shards from 1000 to 300. Just makes it a little faster to calculate. Now this time around, we're going to go ahead and activate this cracker object. And what this will actually do is create a rigid body sphere that traverses the path. It's basically animated along the path and acts as a passive rigid body that fractures the geometry as it animates. Let's go ahead and assign a new material to the cut faces here as well. That'll create a shader that's assigned to the interior faces of our fractured objects. And I'm going to go ahead and leave create PDI objects from fragments unchecked, and I'll show you how to make those create those manually. Also, we're going to go ahead and leave the width at 0.1. Just to make sure we have a pretty fine level of detail here along the curve. Let's go ahead and shatter it. Let's select our object, shatter. We're about halfway through. Okay, 100%. All right, you should see it kept pretty closely with the path that we selected here. Okay, let's go ahead and create a polycube underneath our object. Okay, and let's go ahead and make sure that it's set pretty closely. Let's go to the side viewport. Let's just make sure that it's set underneath the geometry that we fractured here. That looks pretty good. All right, let's go ahead and create our rigid bodies. All right, this is a rigid body creation window. Let's go ahead and open that up. Let's take a look at our geometry. This we'd like to be a passive rigid body. We don't want it to move, but we want it to collide with the other objects. So let's go ahead and set that to passive. And the selection sets that we have here are based on the capsule volume, a convex hull, which basically creates a skinning around your object, and the actual mesh based on its vertex topology. And it can be an animated object, and you can also flip the collision side here. But we're just going to go ahead and set this to auto so that it creates the most efficient cage for the simulation. Let's go up and select our shatter group here. Let's go ahead and make those auto as well. Now for the most accuracy, you'd select this to set it to mesh here, but we're just going to go ahead and select it here to auto. Let's go ahead and put the shaded mode on. And here's the cracker object that I was talking to you about. Right there. And that's going to go ahead and traverse the path and actually collide with the other rigid bodies here and act as a fracturing initiator. Let's go ahead and run this simulation. So you can see all the fractured objects are actually simulating now, and it's not holding together as one object. That's because we didn't declare it as an object, and we do that by creating a fracture body, and we'll do that next. But you can see how what a nice simulation this actually is. All the nice details coming out. We're getting a pretty nice speed return here. This cracker object's passing through relatively slowly, however. Okay, so let's take a closer look at that cracker object. I'd like it to move a little quicker and have a little more influence as it's moving down the path. So let's go ahead and take a quick edit on that. Let's go over, open up the attribute editor, select our motion path, and go to its unit value. This is over time. It's set to go from a value of 1 to 19. I'm going to go ahead and set this from 1 to 300, frame 300. I'm going to set this down to frame, say, 30. So within 1 second, it will have traversed this entire path. Let's go ahead and see what that looks like. You can see it running a lot more quickly and actually causing a lot more perturbation here through our simulation. That's pretty nice. It's very dynamic, very robust, very solid. That's one thing I'll say about PDI is a very solid simulation system. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and stop the simulation. And we can actually scrub back through this as it's going. And that's because I've actually set the enabled cache mode function on in the PDI solver options box here. And it's also set to default to substeps of 5. I like to use 10. It just seems to work a lot better. I always end up adjusting this up to 10 anyway. Substeps of 5 is just a little too low to be a default, I think. Okay, so if you wanted to be able to scrub through your animation, or scrub through your simulation, make sure your enable cache mode is set to on. And here you can also set your number of threads that you're using to calculate your simulation. I usually set that to 1 because I'm out doing other things, but if I'm doing only my simulation, I'll set that to everything I've got.